Resident Evil 3 is disappointing. You know, I never thought I'd be saying that, but at the same time, I guess it is no surprise. I mean, this isn't the first Resident Evil that I didn't like. I mean, I didn't like Operation Raccoon City, and I didn't like Resident Evil 7. I don't know what it was. I think it was something about the mold. They was just kind of relatively boring and lame design choices for monsters. I don't know, they just moved slow and it was just uninteresting. Anyway, going back to Resident Evil 3, yeah, you know, I was actually really looking forward to this game, and I gotta say, I am disappointed. Disappointed. I guess I was trying to say disappointed or something. I don't know what was going on there. So the game falls into the same vein as a lot of remakes where it tries to take the original and improve on it. Well, whereas something like Resident Evil 2 Remake made this happen and made this happen very well, Resident Evil 3 is kind of boring, and it wasn't really much of a slug to get through. Honestly, I actually ran through it relatively quick. Okay, so it took me about 8 hours and 30 minutes according to the in-game time, which for someone might seem relatively long, especially for a Resident Evil game which you can normally run through relatively quickly if you really try. But I don't know, maybe it was because of the system that was presented in Resident Evil 2 where you can have Leon and Claire and you can kind of like pick different paths. Well, they both have slightly altering paths between each other. Whereas this one is mostly just done between Jill and Carlos, and two characters that I actually like. But it's shown in a way where you're not really getting the full story on Carlos. It's just like he's just kind of there, and in the times that Jill isn't present, you have to play as him. So it's not by choice that you get the switch or you get to pick who you play as. It's no different. It's no leading paths or anything, kind of like how the original Resident Evil 3 was. It's just pretty much a straightforward slugfest. Even cuts out things like giant spiders and different places like the park area, you know, something that was so inventive back then during the original. And I'm not even going to really get into Nemesis because he's actually not that frightening. Whereas Mr. X was always like, you was scared for this guy, you know, he was always on your back and you was afraid that he was going to come at you. Nemesis never really felt like that, at least not after his second transformation, or I should say into his second transformation and onward, where he just became bigger and I guess supposed to be more threatening looking, but honestly he seemed like he just became more of a target. The standard Nemesis, where it was just him just basically just acting like another tyrant and chasing you down and speeding in front of you or punching you. Actually, I found him more threatening in the demo than I did here. Now, I said that it took me about 8 hours and 30 minutes in order to finish the game, but that's with me actually trying to look around and do stuff and see what I can find and what I can interact with. I've also died a lot on certain monsters, especially ones like the Hunter Gamma, which is like a one-hit kill. I can't stand that freaking thing. But that's with me honestly trying. Now, imagine if I just wanted to get through the game. I could probably cut that time down by an hour, which the game you can probably beat within 4 hours. Heck, I even saw a speed run of a guy beating it in like a little over an hour. I mean, come on, you're really gonna charge $60 for this? And I know what you're probably saying. They threw in the resistance stuff, right, for multiplayer. Well, to me, I don't know about anybody else, I thought it was kind of boring. I honestly don't really like it. This sort of asymmetrical multiplayer gameplay didn't really interest me all that much. Although playing as the Game Master, I guess, can be a little bit more interesting, or whatever the hell it's called. Not that I paid attention to it, because I never actually got a chance to play it. It seems like the only games you can get is the ones where you're playing as a survivor. Don't get me wrong, I think the game is actually beautiful to look at as far as the lighting, the shading, and the voice acting is actually really good. And the actors, they all do a fantastic job. If anything, I actually like the acting of the two main characters, both being Jill and Carlos, over Leon and Claire in the Resident Evil 2 remake. Now, I played a ton of Resident Evil games. Pretty much all of them, except for the Code Veronica series and Dark Side Chronicles and Revelations 2. Those are probably like the only ones I did not play. So I was actually looking forward into jumping back into the Resident Evil universe and getting reacquainted with these characters again that I love so much. Unfortunately, the fun that I was having quickly went out the window when I realized Not only that there was a lot of stuff missing, but by the time we got down to Nemesis' third transformation, I was like, well, the game at this point is pretty much over, right? I was like, but what about this? What about the giant spiders? What about these other creatures? What about this other area that you can go to? We didn't even see a lot of the power plant. It seems like everything's all condensed in together. It's just so weird and jarring going from the original game, which felt longer in my opinion. And it wasn't just because of the controls. Now, I am glad, for one thing, that they got rid of that stupid puzzle that was in the original Resident Evil 3 Nemesis. Oh my goodness. That puzzle took me forever to do. But even with that being said, we don't even have any, real substitutes in here. There's only one kind of puzzle thing, and it's actually done in the beginning. And all you have to do is just get a bunch of jewels and just place them into a holster. And honestly, there's only 3 of them. So it's relatively quick. Overall, I found Resident Evil 3 not to be worth the $60. And honestly, I wish I would have waited. Or just spend my money, those $60 on the Final Fantasy VII Remake, which I heard is a lot better. And I honestly can't wait to jump into that. I can go into more detail with the game and everything and how I don't actually like it, besides the fact that it's short, the inventory system is a little lame, how this game constantly forces you to backtrack, and a whole bunch of other stuff. But, as far as things like that, I can sort of get around, especially if it's remaking something that really didn't play that great gameplay-wise in the originals, but that's just me. If anything, yeah, I do like the gameplay here, even though I think that it's easier than Resident Evil 2. Personally, I'd just rather go back and play Resident Evil 2. But if I had to rate this game, I would love to give it a 7 out of 10, because there is definitely some value here. There is some good stuff here on a technical level. And like I said, as far as the game, it doesn't play too bad. It actually plays pretty well. It's a slight improved version on the Resident Evil 2 remake. Although the dodging system is very cheap and you can actually make the game a lot easier for you. Jill is interesting, Carlos is interesting. I like some of the side characters. Nobody really mentions Nikolai because you kind of forget that he's a villain. He just sort of pops up like every once in a while and then just disappears for like long periods of time, which makes no sense. I actually felt more like the Birkins and Resident Evil 2 was way more interesting than that. I don't know, it just seems like you could have taken Nikolai out of the entire equation and you probably wouldn't have missed anything. Maybe if they did that and focused on Nemesis a lot more, maybe he would have been more threatening. Well, that's all I got. I'm going to go ahead and actually delete this game off my PlayStation so I can make room for some other stuff. Something more final related. Hey, if you made it towards the end after my little ramblings, I would like to say thank you for actually watching the video and just plain clicking on it. Now, like I said in the video, I could have went into more detail about Resident Evil 3, the remake, and why I didn't like it, but I think everyone on the internet already covered it. So if you've seen one video, you've pretty much seen them all. For the most part, because it seems like I'm finally not in the minority here about not really caring for this game. When it comes down to it, it could have just been a DLC. I probably wouldn't have had much of a problem with it if it was around maybe $40, 40, 45 at most. Whether it came with Resistance or not, like, I honestly don't care about the multiplayer, but that's just me. I know there might be some people out there that like it, but hey, you can enjoy yourself. I'm going to go ahead and play something else that I actually really do enjoy. So if you clicked on the video and you finished all the way through, like I said, thank you. If you like what you see, hit a like. If not, hey, that's okay. I'm going to try to start uploading more videos soon, so I'm definitely trying to get back on my Kingdom Hearts train because I know some people want to see that. So I'll catch you guys in the next one. Alright, take care.
Easy, lady. I got you.
Who are you? What are you doing?
Name's Carlos, and I'm saving you. Come on. Let's get you someplace safe.